we're finally here. WandaVision.
Wow.
Disney Plus's first original series with Marvel characters and the first released series produced by Marvel Studios, which is not the same thing as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Defenders, or The Runaways. That was all Marvel Television, which we have discussed as separate entities many times on the show. You can go back and watch some of our discussions on the Marvel Television, Marvel Studios differences. At this point, I consider there to be a Marvel Netflix universe, a Marvel Hulu universe that includes Freeform to some degree, and then a Marvel ABC universe where Coulson lived after Avengers. But in the MCU, Coulson is still very much dead, and any show produced by Marvel Studios will now be clearly stated as either part of the canon or not. There's not going to be nearly as much confusion as there was previously. Now, just for those that maybe weren't quite aware, this series does take place roughly a couple weeks after Endgame, with the overall timeline of the series being roughly like a week and a half. So just to get people up to speed there. So with WandaVision, it's special to me. Not just because it's friggin' great, and that's my review of WandaVision. Good night, folks. This was the first show that I felt like everyone watched together, but I also got to watch along with everyone. Many people all across the country, all across the world, they've all watched shows like Mad Men and Grey's Anatomy and Game of Thrones, and I'm sorry, I'm just not into softcore porn. It's not my thing. So, but I've made very clear that I only have time for superhero content because of my career aspirations, and that's just time consuming enough as is. I mean, clearly. If I watch it, I have to care about it. And it was great to finally have a show of my own where I felt like everyone else was also enjoying that same show. I've never had that feeling before. Not like the CW Arrowverse or even the Marvel Netflix verse, where a strong following watched the shows as they were being released, but not enough to engage with just anyone, around the water cooler, as they say. This show has an incredible advantage that most other shows have never had in, I believe, the history of television. This series had the backing of the biggest film franchise and pop culture machine in history. Not even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. benefited from this, because when that show came out, we were only up to Iron Man 3 at that point in the fall of 2013. Avengers 1 was a huge success and proof that superhero crossover stories could work, but that movie was only the third biggest movie by the end of its run. It was the highest grossing film not directed by James Cameron when all was said and done, behind Avatar and Titanic, respectively. So we're now here almost 13 years after Iron Man 1 was released in May 2008. Since then, we have gotten 23 financially successful movies, the good and the so-so, and none of them are bad, and no one will deter me from that ideology otherwise. In that pool, we can include Marvel's biggest hero in Spider-Man via a whole nother studio, which we never thought we would get as part of this universe. Seeing Spider-Man in Infinity War just kind of made it real for me. Wow, I can't believe he's involved in this. I never thought that we would see merch sales for B-list and C-list characters, that are now considered mainstream, like Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel, and even friggin' Rocket Raccoon. Never thought I'd grow up in that world. And in that pool, it also includes what is now the biggest film of all time in Avengers Endgame, the greatest movie ever made. It's just a bona fide fact. It has all the money, and I've given it numerous times, and that's a nice fact. For Marvel Studios to now jump into TV with full control over their characters, it was a very creative gamble, I believe, for the studio as a whole, and even Disney. But you know how it paid off? Anyone who wanted to wait for all the episodes to be released, they realized midway through that they couldn't wait that long because the show was too good and they were going to get spoiled. So we all waited weekly for television again, like we all used to back in the day. And it was glorious to share this feeling with everyone as a comic book guy who never watched the same shows as everyone else. I felt like I was kind of part of the crowd rather than an outsider for the first time in a long time. It was nice. And what's really funny to me about this show, too, is that it was never meant to be the first show from Marvel for Disney+. The show was moved up as a direct result of the pandemic. Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be the first show, and while I was definitely the most excited for that one just because of all the action, I actually came around to the idea that this was actually the more appropriate show, WandaVision, to start with for Disney+, since it featured the lone Avenger that wasn't there for the final battle, excluding Black Widow, who's getting her own movie, hence why she didn't get as much fanfare as maybe was deserved in Endgame. But Merrick, this is all information we already know. We've seen Knights of the Dirty Table before. You talk about the praises of Marvel Studios all the time. We're big fans of the characters either way, so what's the point of your topic? Well, here's my point. You never quite know how good or bad a show will be until you watch it. You don't really know how good or bad anything is until you try it. The show of WandaVision sold itself on the idea that you didn't truly know what to expect when you jumped in. It appeared to be a hybrid of sitcoms and superhero action and possibly dramatic dealings of grief, just based on what we saw from the trailers, that maybe Wanda was going to be dealing with something involving Vision post-Endgame. Now, what I'm about to say is not targeted at those who consider themselves to be casual fans of the MCU movies, general, popcorn chewers and just enjoying a good flick on a Friday night, or fans who don't read the comics but truly love the stories that are being displayed in front of them on the silver screen. We can all have many different levels of enjoyment, and there's no judgment on how you entered the MCU from my standpoint. If this was your introduction to the MCU because you were just excited about all the hype as a TV series, then congratulations. I am thrilled that you are now part of the MCU adventure along with the rest of us. This is for the fanboys who love, and I mean love, one-upping their friends because they've read the books and then say after watching a superhero property, that didn't happen in the comics, / all the websites that post reviews on TV, music, movies, whatever. All of these sources have seen every movie and know all the characters. And this is a very specific audience that I am targeting here, okay? Why would you doubt that the show would be good in the first place? How much more proof do you need after a decade of success that this show is going to be good? What would make you write off a show clearly featuring characters from the biggest movie franchise ever, simply because they start off in black and white 1950s? I sure hope the show gets better. It's just too slow. Did you forget how to watch weekly TV? See a good story progress? I mean, God forbid that we don't have any answers after watching a half-hour show to what's going on. And a few weeks ago, on the YDD show, every Monday at 5 Eastern Standard Time on the Young Coffee Network Twitch channel, by the way, we looked at a list from British GQ, the magazine, that ranked all 24 released projects from the MCU, including WandaVision, after only 3 episodes. And I won't go through the entire list for you today, but I just want to start with from the bottom to the top. At the bottom at number 24, we had Iron Man 2. Fair enough. I had it ranked a little low myself. No problem. After that, The Incredible Hulk. Again, totally fair, even though we are now including it much more into MCU continuity with She-Hulk coming up. At number 22, WandaVision. WandaVision. I know, everyone off camera is like, what's going on? We will get to the pushback. Don't you worry, folks. WandaVision at number 22. How? How do you rank something so low after it being incomplete and only 3 episodes? Granted, this list also put Captain Marvel right under Thor the Dark World and Captain America the Winter Soldier beneath Ant-Man, Age of Ultron, Captain America the First Avenger, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and one more. Nope, that was it. Just to have Winter Soldier so low, it just made no sense in my mind. Now, while I do believe that a show swimming in American sitcom tropes might not translate as well to an international audience, because again, this is the British GQ magazine, and it could very well create a disconnect for someone who's never seen or heard of these sitcom references, I don't believe you needed them to appreciate WandaVision as a whole. But I respect that maybe not everything clicked for someone after someone after the international border. Even a young American might not have seen these landmark sitcoms, but you can still enjoy the characters that you already know. But how dare you rank a TV show on a list of movies after only 3 episodes? Some people are just born stupid. That's my conclusion. Now, as I predicted, the thought of going a year and a half without new MCU content was going to bring us in droves to the relatively new streaming service in Disney+. But no one could have predicted that a show about a witch and an android would create the single biggest pop culture moment of 2021 thus far and have that relevancy last for nearly 2 months. The timing of this show's release landed perfectly for Marvel and Disney with the pandemic and the switching of shows. It's unheard of for a freshman show to create such a cultural bang of this magnitude. Marvel genuinely saved the day after the god-awful garbage 2020 that I think we've all had. And we'll see you in a few weeks for Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Whoa! Welcome to the end of the Knights of the Dirty Table video that you just watched. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to our channel, like our video, share with all your friends, and catch our live stream every Friday live at 5, only on the Zenden Studios Twitch channel. I gotta go wander off into space. See ya! Whoa! Whoa!